Every now and again, there's an episode that premieres that serves the dual purpose of grabbing us by our collars and letting us know that they mean business. To not overlook them just because there might have been a soft episode, but that they're here and they have what it takes to prove that they mean what they mean and they bring what they bring to the table. And this is definitely one of those episodes, and that's one. And two, the other purpose that they serve with this episode is to remind us why we are fans to begin with, what it is that they bring to the table, and the reason why we even like the genre to begin with, be it extended lore, movies, books, whatever that you've known about it. And not just liking this series, right? Like I said, not just the expanded lore, but just liking the universe itself and understanding what's available there and what they can actually provide us when we're watching it. And for me, this episode definitely did both. It reminded me what The Mandalorian is capable of and the incredible amount of lore that has come before it and after that they can pull from to just hit you with so many surprises. This pulled from other sources of Star Wars content, and it was just so nice to see some of these reveals. Now, I'm not one to admit that I'm a fanboy, but I am willing to admit that during this episode, I was jumping around like a fanboy. I don't normally do that, but damn, unifying other genres and other content of the Star Wars universe in the same way that they did with Boba Fett in episode 1. This is very similar, but I think more so it was impactful in this episode because of the series that they pulled from. Now, I don't want to give you guys heavy spoilers, but let me do what I usually do. This is going to be your official spoiler warning. I'm going to give you a quick summary, and then after that, it's going to be all spoilers. So this is your last chance to step back, watch the episode, come back, and if you don't care, let's get into it. So after our Mandalorian is able to find other of his own kind, he now has to distinguish between whether or not they are really friends or foes, while also dealing with murky waters that involve other factions. All right, you guys? So let me go ahead and break it down to you. Let's get it. What's up, guys? This is your boy Nella. Welcome back to another TBG Trial by Gaming feature. And on today's review, I'm going to be breaking down Season 2, Episode 3, Chapter 11, The Heiress. Now, this is the episode that The Mandalorian really needed to really bring us back into the fold of what is the universe that they're putting together for us. I personally have loved every episode that has come out of The Mandalorian this season, but coming off of that more kind of transitional episode, definitely wasn't a throwaway, but it was just a cool little excursion that The Mandalorian, went through. This right here is the meat and potatoes of why we even had that episode to begin with. We get a lot in this episode that I think really blows me out of the water, because not only does it introduce new characters, including some that we've never seen before, but some of the ones that we're introduced to, it just blows my mind how much, lore before and after the events that we're watching right now that The Mandalorian has to pull from. And that's kind of its benefit moving forward from any episode. The fact that they have so much lore to pull from and so much to give us that you're never quite sure, what the next episode is going to bring. They could be answering something from, 3-4 movies ago. They could be, answering something that sets up, something from the last trilogy that we got. And as you guys know, there was a lot of, let's say, loopholes and problems that you're just kind of like, well, how did they do that? And The Mandalorian serves as that way for us to potentially get those answers. Basically The Mandalorian is one long ass Rogue One, right? Where it can, answer a lot of little questions for us on why things matter and things like that. So for me, this episode was incredible. As I might have mentioned before, I'm not a fanboy, but I am a fan of the series, and this episode reminded me of why I love The Mandalorian in the first season, but obviously where they're going here in the second season. All right, so let's go ahead and break it down. So at the beginning of this episode, as you remember, our frog lady, Baby Yoda, and Din are making their way to the equestrian moon of Trask, and they actually make it there, right, in limp mode. And so they have this really cool burning through the atmosphere entry, and he's flying down, right? Din is trying to get control of his vehicle, right? The Razor Crest as is coming down, but, as you remember, it's in pretty bad shape. So he's trying everything he can, and at the last moment, he is able to land. Sadly, it's in the water. And I was like, damn, they're going to drown. But the Mon Calamari are there, and they basically hoist them out of there and, help them out. At which point Din pays this Mon Calamari, if you remember, the calamari flan that he got in the very first episode, which is a really cool callback, basically to fix up his ship, tells him, do something about it. And they're like, we got you. I looked at the dude that told him that, and I was like, he's not going to get him. Either the Razor Crest is going to be gone from here on out or something, but you know what it is. So we finally see the Frog Lady's husband. We're going to call him the Frogman because I forget what exactly they refer to him as, but neither of them have an actual titled name. So we have the Frog Lady and the Frogman. They finally see each other, and it's a very nice reunion. I don't know why I liked the Frogman so much when I saw him. I was just like, damn it, yes, we finally got this other character to a character I'm already invested in, right? The Frog Lady. So basically what happens is we get a quick scene of somebody who looks at our Mando. Now, we're not exactly sure who it is, but it is the actress. She's a WWE superstar, Sasha Banks. So she's in a robe. We don't really know who her character is, but she sees Din and then just kind of, disappears. For a second, I thought maybe she was going to be a Jedi, but at this point in the episode, we weren't quite sure. But it was cool to see that, okay, somebody's watching Din. They know who he is. They know the Mandalorian thing. He definitely sticks out. And that's one of the problems with maybe him showing up in all Mandalorian armor. It's obvious who he is, and everyone seems to know what Beskar is. So he is basically taken to this restaurant cantina type thing where he goes to get information to the Frogman, letting him know this is kind of where we've seen them at. And so he goes in there, starts talking to one of the, I believe it's a Quarren that talks to him, and he lets him know, like, here's some money. Let me know, about the Mandalorians because I'm looking for them. And so that Quarren then goes talk to another Quarren, and that he's a ship captain. He comes up to him and lets him know, yeah, we know about a couple Mandalorians. Why don't you come with us and we'll see what we can do to find them? It's like a 2-day ship out to sea. And Armando's like, all right, let's go ahead and do it. So fast forward, they get onto the ship and they start making their way out into sea. Everything is going pretty smoothly. It's, no reason to think that anything is going to go wrong. But of course, this is our Mando and he's wearing Beskar and everyone knows how much it's worth. So obviously there's going to be problems. So there's this Leviathan that they refer to that they basically feed out in the middle of the sea. They're not too far away from land. This must have been only like maybe 10 or 15 minutes after they may have launched, because you can still see it in the background. But what then happens is as they open up this pit in the middle of the ship and Armando lines up with Baby Yoda, one of them kicks Baby Yoda, or not kicks, I think they use like an axe or something, and they hit Baby Yoda out into the middle of the water, and this Leviathan thing swallows it whole. Now remember, he is in his little egg carriage thing, so it closes right as it pulls him in. Armando jumps right into action and jumps into water after him, which for me is terrifying. Beskar armor or not, still surprised he did it, and he jumps in there. And so the Quarren then basically close everything above him through this gate. And so while our Baby Yoda is in the mouth of this Leviathan thing, Armando is basically fighting for his life. And they're stabbing at his hands, trying to stab at him. One of them makes a comment about his Beskar armor and how, they're going to make a lot of money off of him. And, he's fighting for his life. It looks really bad. And without being able to really use the benefit of his jetpack because of the gate above him and the Leviathan below him, I don't know if he has enough firepower with him to do anything in this situation. And then when it seems like it's all lost, guess who we see? So just as it seems like it's all lost, 3 Mandalorians in blue armor show up and decimate the Quarren in close combat and shooting, jumping around, using their, jetpacks the way they're supposed to. They look obviously like one solid unit, and they look like they're elite, and they whip everyone's ass. It was incredible watching them all show up at the same time because they introduced a character like none before. So after whipping everybody's ass and opening up the gate and bringing our Mandalorian back onto the deck, he lets them know, the baby, he's still in there, and one of them jumps into the water, doesn't even hesitate, and you see a bunch of blaster fire, and then a few seconds later she comes out with baby Yoda in hand. It was insanely cool to watch that happen, because again, that Leviathan would have scared the crap out of me, and I don't know if I would have jumped in the water, but these are Mandalorians and this is the way. So after whooping everybody's ass and killing everybody, we finally have a standoff between our Mando and these three other Mandalorians. And then what we've seen happen before, which is funny that we see it happen a second time, but all three Mandalorians take off their helmets, at which point our Mando is obviously like, hold on, who am I dealing with in this moment? And this is where we get one of the biggest reveals this season. Now, obviously, this show is called The Mandalorian. And while that might sound singular, it's also plural, right? When you refer to The Mandalorian, you're referring to the culture, because they're not necessarily a race. You may or may not know that, but it's really more of a culture amongst a bunch of people that have the same ideology, right? And so you basically get a lot of different versions of that, because they've been splintered due to a lot of galactic conflict and stuff like that. But here we have the introduction of, obviously, a Mandalorian, right? And again, the focal point of this series is to give us more Mandalorians. And here we get Bo-Katan. Now, if you don't know who Bo-Katan is, you haven't obviously watched Star Wars Rebels or Star Wars Clone Wars, the animated series. Now, from my understanding, from what I can recollect, this is the first character that we get that's from an animated series. That's incredible. The fact that not only are they pulling from books, from old movies like, with Boba Fett, but now we're also getting characters from the, Star Wars animated universe. If you've watched the animated universe, you'll know it's incredibly well done. It might be animated and it might be a cartoon series, but damn, if you're a real fan, you get treated like a real fan when you watch those shows and those episodes. So, a little history lesson just to break down everything so you get a better understanding of why Bo Katan's character is so incredibly amazing to be involved here in The Mandalorian. Not just as another, Mandalorian leader, but just in general, her history as a character. So, really quickly, back about 25 years ago, when we still had, Anakin and Obi-Wan and all of them in the Clone Wars era, Mandalore was suffering through another civil war. And Bo-Katan's older sister, known as Duchess Satine, was leading this revolution of a pacifist movement on the planet of Mandalore, because they were done being basically this warrior culture and wanted to evolve into something greater. Now, there was an extremist group known as Death Watch that was against that. They didn't want that. They wanted to be still warriors. They were an extremist group, almost basically a terrorist group, and that was basically where the Civil War was coming from. Now, they ended up allying themselves with Darth Maul, and by fighting basically, corruption and things like that, alongside them, they were able to actually beat that group of pacifists. And their leader, Pre Vizsla, ended up taking over the role of the Mandalorian ruler by basically getting the dark saber. And as you remember, in the end of season 1, Moff Gideon has the dark saber. So by right, he is the leader, by the old right at least, right? The more extremist way. Whoever has a sword can unify all the houses, right? And so that's what he did. However, Darth Maul, obviously being as conniving as he is, challenged him to a fight, obviously beat Pre Vizsla and beheaded him. So Bo-Katan was part of this Death Watch group. And obviously, even though Darth Maul had won fair and square, and had the dark saber, she was not going to recognize him as a new Mandalorian. And so because of that, her sect ended up breaking away from that group, and they were known as the Night Owls, and the other group was known as, I believe, the Super Commandos, which are basically the people who were the Mandalorians who were loyal to Darth Maul, and they had really cool red armor with horns. It was a pretty fucking dope time. Again, if you haven't had a chance to watch the Clone Wars, watch the Clone Wars. So that is basically a little overview on that. I don't want to get too much into the Rebel side of it, but from what we do know, she does end up getting back Mandalore at some point, and in fact becomes the Mandalore by getting the dark saber herself. So if Moff Gideon has it, we can only imagine that Moff Gideon at some point, either bested her, or when Mandalore was invaded partly by his group, he was the one that was able to beat her and take hold of the dark saber. So not quite sure what's happened there, but I'm sure we're going to see more. But basically that was the backstory of what happened, and there's still so much we don't know, but it's badass to think that now that we're at this point in the story, that now she's a live character. Now, her actress, funny enough, is actually her voice actor from the original series, which is dope as hell, because she's been the voice actor and now we're hearing the same voice but as a real person in the series, and she looks like she jumped right out of the animated series. Now, her name is Katie Sackhoff. Now, next to her on her left is the other female character who ends up being Sasha Banks's character, known as Casca Reeves, and she's the one that we saw, obviously, hooded up. Again, I thought she was a Jedi. She ended up being a badass Mandalorian, and I really love her armor set. And on the right of Bo-Katan, we see a male Mandalorian who is Axe Woves, played by Simon Cassanitas. He's actually from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series, if you've seen him before. And we have, again, a little bit of a standoff where Amando's like, wait a minute, you're not real Mandalorian if you took off your helmet. And at which point, Bo-Katan gives us a little bit of background on why we've been seeing this, right? She finally explains what's been happening. And so, because, our Mando seems to have this huge thing about taking his helmet off. But if you've watched the Clone Wars, if you watch Rebels, Sabine Wren, Bo-Katan, all of them, they all took off their helmets. They don't really care. But apparently, Death Watch was the group that splintered off once everything went to hell. And that group was an extremist group, as I mentioned before, right? And so it's a little convoluted because we're not quite sure, because she refers to him as a child of the Watch. I imagine it's Death Watch, but basically he was taken by this extremist rebel group of Mandalorians, and that's why he follows these extreme rules about, keeping his helmet on and all that. But it begs the question of, who is Din really? If he's part of an extremist group, where does he stand in the Mandalorian culture and race? How much of it does he really know? How pure of a Mandalorian is he really, when he's just a subsect of what's not even the popular part of the Mandalorian ideology, right? Does he even know that there was a civil war? Does he know anything about that? Does he know the precursor of his own, what he considers to be his own nationality and culture, right? So we see, again, a lot of this Mando finding out what it really means to be a Mando. And I think that it's pretty dope to see here. And it's cool to see a group that's, I don't want to say smarter or better than him, but they obviously know more. And at least Katie Sackhoff's character, Bo-Katan, is older than him. The other two, I'm not quite sure their age groups, but I'm sure that they're maybe in the same age group as him. But again, they were raised in what was more the traditional way, right? Because Bo-Katan actually came to rule at some point and be the Mandalore. So again, really cool to see this. But our Mando, obviously having a little bit of identity problem, is like, no, you're not a real Mandalorian. I don't believe you guys. And he go ahead and not escapes, but he leaves out of there on his jetpack with Baby Yoda in hand. Now, once back on the mainland, it's already dark. You can see in the background the ship that he was on basically being blown up by the Mandalorians, right? Because everyone on there has been killed. But he's back on land, back on the docks, and he's walking with Baby Yoda in his hands when he is cornered by another group of Quarrens. One of them basically tells him, the captain was my brother, you killed him, so now I'm going to kill you or that baby that you have in your hands. At which point, Bo-Katan and the rest of the group show up again to save his ass for a second time in a couple of minutes. And this is really cool. There's just a quick standoff and then a quick display of Wild West style fighting. They all pull out their guns and kill everybody super fast. I actually really enjoy the fact that it wasn't a drawn out fight. It was like, hey, kill everybody as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. And again, this is what I like about seeing other Mandalorians, because while we did see Mandalorians in this first season, it was kind of in this like free for all, everyone's shooting everybody sort of, thing. And there was a bunch of them and they were obviously winning. And so it's really cool to just see like a small splinter group that's just really good at what they do, being elite soldiers and actually giving us that level that the movies never gave us when it comes to these not lightsaber fights obviously, but these gunfights where the clones could never hit a damn thing, right? And but here these Mandos are shooting like they have fucking auto aim on, and it's incredible. So they kill everybody, and then at that point Bo-Katan lets Din know, listen, we need your help. You know, we are all Mandalorian, whether you want to accept that or not, but we do need your help and we can be of help to your cause. So Din obviously says, you know what, okay, fine. And so they go ahead and, oh, well, Din goes and leaves Baby Yoda with Frogman and Frog Lady, which I don't know how good of an idea that was because I was like, fuck, he's gonna eat the rest of the frog eggs, or if they're hatching, he's gonna eat one of them right in front of them. It's gonna cause a problem, and I don't want to see Din kill Frog Lady or Frogman, but it is what it is. So he leaves Baby Yoda with them, and then they go and they basically lay down what's happening. So Bo-Katan needs more guns and ammunition and basically war material to be able to take back Mandalore, because that's what she's trying to do. And so she lets our character Din know, okay, so there's this transport, there's basically a window of time that we'll have to be able to get inside of it to be able to take the deck, get everything that we need, and like be able to supply our other militant group, right? Because there's a bunch of them, but these are just the three that are here. And so Mando agrees, and then we get one of the most insane fights that we've gotten so far. Again, so badass to see how good the Mandalorian are, but it's so funny to see how trash these stormtroopers are. They're like bottom barrel soldiers. I really don't understand how they're able to take over the galaxy the way they did, because they're trash soldiers. That's just how it is. And so basically we have our Mandalorian group. They're able to get inside of the ship, and there they start raising hell. It's incredible. They're killing all the stormtroopers fast, and not like 1, 2, 3. It's like 6 at a time. They're just dropping like it's nothing. And it's incredible to watch them fight in tandem because they're all really good fighters, right? All the Mandalorians are really good fighters, really good at what they do. And Din is no different. So he is able to just kind of do everything very well with the group. He works very well in tandem. But they're just clearing out groups of stormtroopers left and right. It's really fun to watch. A lot of explosions, a lot of different tactics to defeat them, a lot of hallway fighting, which is always cool because usually in the past we've seen the rebel groups get fucked. And it was just kind of cool to see the stormtroopers get totally obliterated. It was not even a fair fight, even if it would have been just a couple of them by themselves. Now, definitely Bo-Katan's group has way more firepower. On the blaster scale, everyone seems to have 2. Our Mando still has 1, and his is more of a slower repeater shooting blaster, while Bo-Katan's and Koska and Axe, they all have like faster shooting guns. So I can't wait to see our Mando go that route and get better weaponry. But in the meantime, he did his part. There's a scene where they're kind of like, we're pinned down. What are we going to do? And he, does his Mando thing. He runs out. He's taking shots to the helmet, shoulder, chest, everything, and then throws these grenades and finishes blowing apart these guys. Basically the stormtroopers are right there. Now, fast forward to the deck side. So what's happening here on the bridge is that this character known as Titus Welliver, so that's his actual name in real life. He's the captain of the ship. I've seen him plenty of times before as an actor. I probably should have figured out. I'll try to put it right here somewhere if I remember what he's from. But basically, his character is the captain of the ship, and we see Moff Gideon for the first time in hologram form, where he lets him know they've taken the bridge. I guess they've taken the bridge because they're in the cockpit. So they've taken the bridge. What do you want us to do? And Moff Gideon basically tells them, well, you know what? You guys are pretty fucked at this point. They're going to take you guys over. You know what to do. At which point the 2 actual pilots look at each other like, oh shit, what does that mean? And then the captain executes them both before grabbing onto the starts piloting the ship itself and runs it straight down on a crash collision course into the ground. And so that just goes to show you that while they might refer to Mando's group as a group of extremists, the Empire is still exactly the same in that sense, right? we cannot give the enemy, weapons, ammunitions, and supplies. Kill the pilots, kill yourself, and destroy everything that's on there and take them out if you can. And for the empire and all this stuff. And so it's pretty insane to watch that, because it's one thing to watch, let's say, a character that's loyal to his cause, but it's also crazy to watch these extremists who are like, I'm willing to kill myself and everybody, and whoever is not okay with that, who's even on my own side, I'm going to kill them as well. And so they're dealing with an extremist group. Yeah, there's a bunch of stormtroopers, and yeah, they're not the best fighters, but knowing that they'll go to extremes to win makes the war that much more interesting, right? It's okay, sure, I can kill a bunch of them, but if one of them just, blows himself up and all of us, like, that's something to deal with. So we basically see that happen, and our Mandos are able to actually get in there, and they're able to get him off, and they're able to just at the last minute pick up the transport ship without hitting the ground. They almost do, but they don't. And we have this really insane scene where basically they're asking about Bo-Katan is asking about Moff Gideon, so she knows about him. And so this is kind of our first clue that she's had an encounter with him, and he's probably the one that defeated her and took the dark saber to begin with. And so what we then see happen here is the captain basically lets him know, if you're asking me about Moff Gideon, you already know where he is, you don't need me to tell you anything. Long live the empire. And then he does the whole break the tooth, but instead of it being like an acid that he takes that kills him, it's this like electrocution thing that basically fries his brain and everything else, and he kills himself. So again, this extremist guy that's like, you're not going to get any information out of me because I'm going to kill myself. So they're down for the cause, and it's really insane to see the empire act in that fashion, because up until now, we haven't seen that, right? We haven't been shown that they're an extremist group now. Maybe they were an extremist group to begin with, but before they had all the power, they didn't have to worry about doing things like this. Now they're not, and while they can still travel and basically execute their operations with a lot of autonomy still, there's things that they have to do in order to protect what information they do have, and they'll go to great lengths to do so. So again, a really badass scene that we see here. So our Mando basically is able to land the ship, and they get all the ammunition that they need. And I may have missed a quick scene, but basically Bo-Katan kind of lets him know that they're not just there for what they were there for. They were there for some kind of ammunition, not just ammunition and guns, but there's more to it than that. She kind of switches up the deal on Armando mid-fight, and it's really funny because he's like, "That's not the plan. That wasn't the original deal." And she looks at him really and goes, "This is the way." And I was just like, "Ooh, she got his ass. She got his ass." Now, obviously it ended up being in favor of all of them, and they all won each other's respect at the end of it all. And Bo-Katan does let the Mando know, hey, the offer still stands. If you want to join us, like, I know you have your other stuff to do, but you should join us. At which point Mando doesn't necessarily say no, but he's like, I still have to go do my thing. And so then we get here an incredible name drop. Now, I think it's insane, again, how good this episode was, but to name drop this character at the very end of the episode, it's insane. So she basically lets him know that Mando's going to have to travel to this planet, and when he gets there, he has to ask for Ahsoka Tano and to let her know that Bo-Katan sent him. That's insane. If you know who Ahsoka Tano is, so if you don't know who Ahsoka Tano is, that's okay. She was not in any of the movies. Granted, if you watch the Clone Wars, she was such a pivotal, not just Clone Wars with the Rebels, she was such a pivotal reason for so many things that happened that you're like, how do they keep this under wraps for so long? But again, it's so dope that they even name dropped her, because not only did they potentially, they didn't show us her character, they didn't show us what she looks like, they didn't, have her come out of nowhere. They name dropped her like, hey guys, you might see Boba Fett. No, 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 no. It was, hey guys, Ahsoka Tano's coming. That's bold writing by the Star Wars leadership. So basically, Ahsoka Tano, if you don't know who she is, she was the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker, the guy that ended up becoming Darth fucking Vader, meaning her character is the apprentice, the old apprentice of one of the darkest figures of Star Wars. And at least the series is the we've seen, right? So super badass. She was the reason why Bo-Katan, or at least one of the reasons why Bo-Katan was able to actually take back Mandalore and take the dark saber back. And there's a lot more into that. Maybe I'll have to make a video for you guys explaining all that. But in the meantime, yes, Ahsoka Tano is an important and pivotal person for so many events in the Star Wars universe. And to have her name dropped to let us know boldly she is coming, that's incredible. And so, with that said, it'll be interesting to see how they're going to do it and how they're going to introduce her to us, because one, they name dropped her. Two, we're only in the third episode of the season. I don't know how many more we have. I don't know if it's going to be 8 or if we're going for a 16, 24 episode run. I don't know what they're going for this season, but the fact that we're already in episode 3, and we're already getting this far, like, I honestly was expecting if we were going to be seeing Ahsoka Tano, it was going to be towards the end of this season. But to, already have her on the plate and have us wondering, like, is it next episode? Like, is that what we're going to see? Is that really what's about to happen? We're really jumping into it. So again, this episode served as such a reminder of what basically the Mandalorian has to pull from to give us just an incredible series, an incredible episode, just an incredible cast. Now, we will see how this is going to unravel as we move forward. But again, it's just really cool what they're doing right now. I would never thought to myself when I first watched the Clone Wars that one day there'd be a show about the Mandalorians that was going to have Ahsoka Tano in it as a potential main character. Okay, so after this name drop, we have our character Din make his way back to get Baby Yoda. And luckily, a little bit of redemption here from episode 2. Baby Yoda gets to watch one of the tadpoles actually be born. And he's in this bowl thrashing around, and Baby Yoda, doesn't want to eat him. He thinks it's cute. He probably feels some kind of remorse for eating the eggs. And then our Mando character shows up, picks him up, and Baby Yoda doesn't even want to leave. He's screaming and crying like a little baby. It's just really cute to see, again, a little bit of redemption here for the Baby Yoda character, understanding and respecting the life of, the frog man and frog lady. And they kind of just give each other their goodbyes. And then our Mando leaves with Baby Yoda. He goes back to the Razor Crest, and the Razor Crest is in terrible shape. He paid something like 1,000 credits or something like that to the Mon Calamari, and they basically jerry rigged his shit is really what they did. Basically, a bunch of ropes holding everything together, and they didn't really put it back together as they did make sure it was held together more better, but that was about it. And so he makes his way out of there sputtering, and then the final scene is him going into light speed as this little piece of metal basically floats away from what couldn't make it on when they took off. So that is the end of the episode, and what we do know is that right now they're trying to make their way to go find Ahsoka Tano. So very, very cool, very, very badass. A wonderful episode to let us know that the Mandalorian means business, and we are going to be getting just an incredible storyline moving forward. So if you guys like this episode, if you guys like this content, please like, comment, subscribe, share. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode and what you guys might be foreseeing in the future of what they might do. And as per usual, and I'm going to leave in the description how to find all my content on Instagram, Twitter, and my Patreon, just in case you want to join me and help me be able to bring this content and continue to do this. Because again, I'm still playing a little bit of catch up. Today is Friday, and the 5th episode has come out now, so I still have to do episode 4. I still have to watch episode 5, and I'm probably going to catch up this weekend for you guys so that by next week I'm able to actually drop the episode the same day it comes out on Disney Plus. All right, guys, again, this is a TBG Trial by Gaming feature. I am Nello. Deuces.